They say the accomplished doesn't rot. It ferments until the aroma seeps through the floorboards. There's the abode you won't acquisition on best maps anymore. A besprinkle of aptitude clapboard. Houses on the banks of the Greenbrier River. Abysmal in the Appalachian fold area the sun sets abaft the ridges afore supper. It was the year 1912. The apple alfresco was roaring into modernity. Trains, automobiles, electric light. But Greenbrier still smelled of woodham smoke and river silt. The bodies there lived slow, abundant lives, apprenticed by acreage and blood, mostly blood. There was no Abbey alarm here. Abandoned the assessment of the adamant triangle at the mill, summoning men with adamantine easily to harder work. In the evenings, those aforementioned men would accumulate at porches, rolling cigarettes and speaking in low, mud-blubbery voices. Outsiders rarely came, and aback they did. They didn't break long. In the centermost of it all stood the Kincaid homestead. 3 ancestors had been born, wed, and active afterwards any time dispatch added than a day's airing from its acrid floorboards. The windows were angled from years of summer humidity. The roof shingles crimper up like begrimed leaves, and abaft those windows lived ancestors whose branches had bankrupt in on themselves so abounding times that no one, not akin they, could absolutely bethink area fatherhood concluded, and alliance began. Locals aside about the Kincaids, they said the bloodline had been authentic for too long, if abstention was what you capital to alarm it. By 1912, the ancestor Elias Kincaid was a man of general age, his face the affectionate that looked both 40 and 80 depending on the light. His articulation was slow. Each chat pulled up from about abysmal and damp. But the belief weren't about Elias. They were about his son and his wife. The boy's name was Vernon. Built-in baby with the pale about clear-cut bark that fabricated his veins assume like dejected accoutrement below the surface. He had an aberrant burnished calmness in his eyes, like he was alert to article that no one abroad could hear. Vernon didn't go to school. His mother accomplished him from the Bible and an old farmer's almanac. Aback bodies asked area she'd appear from. Elias would say she was kin from the mountain. No one apprenticed further. Not in the abode area kin could beggarly about anything. As Vernon grew, so did the unease. By 16, his appearance were unsettling. Not askew exactly, but accustomed in a way that fabricated people's stomachs tighten. It was in the symmetry, a absolute apery of his mother's aerial cheekbones, her sharp cone-shaped chin, her aberrant blooming eyes. Again came the wedding. It wasn't in a church. Greenbrier had none. A loofy allowance abaft the Kincaid house with cider anesthetized about in architect jars, and dabble music dawdling on like an insect's hum. Elias stood at Vernon's ancillary as he affiliated a woman in her backward 30s. Her blind was a tenuate abundant that anyone could see her face, and anyone could see it was Vernon's mother. At first association told themselves it was impossible, some borderland misunderstanding, a aggregate name, an aunt mistaken for a mother. But Vernon himself put an end to speculation. One night afterwards, too abundant cider, he told a visiting comminate worker, "Ain't never been with no woman but my artisan larboard the abutting morning afterwards accession his pay." Life in the King abode afterwards that seemed unchanged. The brace kept to themselves. Some swore they saw Vernon's mother, now wife, cradling him in the backyard on summer evenings, bustling low and tuneless, as if he were still a boy. Others claimed they heard arguments in the night, words too slurred to understand followed by long aching silences, and again the sightings began. Hunters bridge the backbone appear seeing Vernon abandoned in the woods, barefoot. Akin in winter he'd angle motionless, watching them from amid the trees, his anemic bark beaming in the dusk. Sometimes he agitated article in his hand, a breadth of rope or a sleep beastly captivated by the tale. Added advancing were the accounts from accouchement who wandered to abutting to the King property. They'd alternate adage Vernon had arrived them in, but abandoned to accommodated his added mother. No one could explain what that meant. In the autumn of 1918, blooming Brier was hit by the influenza. Entire families vanished in weeks. But aback neighbors came to analysis on the Kincaid place. They begin the aperture blind open. A pot of bouillon burnt to a band on the stove and no one inside. The beds were still warm. Upstairs in the adept bedroom, the bat was bankrupt aback as if addition had aloof risen. On the chiffonier sat 2 objects, a woman's besom circuitous with atramentous strands and beside it a child's rattle. In the barn they begin ankle print-ints in the mud, but no horses. A loofah aisle of bald animal aisle arch abroad into the trees. The chase went on for weeks, but no bodies were any time recovered. Abandoned rumors. Some swore they heard ball abysmal in the bark, a complete like a mother accident or adolescent. Or a adolescent accident. His mother, the Kincaid address, burst in on itself ancient in the 1940s. Now its annihilation added, then a besprinkle of adulteration boards beneath the weight of moss and vine. But the arena there never absolutely feels right. Hikers say their compasses circuit a back they can't tankerous the clearing. Hunters abstain it altogether. And every few years addition swears they've apparently anemic man a glass barefoot, continuing at the treine captivation the duke of a woman with blooming eyes. They never speak, they abandon watch. And if you attending too long, you ability alpha to apprehension that they attending absolutely alike. Please like, share, subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.